My name is London Rain. Thank you for joining me in my studio today for the third episode of Between Layers, where I break down beats, samples, all that stuff, showing you some of my processing and everything else that's going on between the layers. Today I got a sample that I made a couple of days ago. I don't want to break down the whole thing because there's not really that much to it, but there's a choir in it which I thought would be a perfect example to show you how to build good, interesting and full sounding choirs by yourself. So let's get right into it. Before we begin, let's listen to the choir by itself without anything else. So here's my approach. First thing I do is listen to the chords and then try and come up with an interesting melody line that is not too complicated and pretty high, so we have enough space to stack layers underneath. The first really important thing to know is that the layers underneath that main melody that you came up with can never go higher than the actual melody, because the brain will always interpret the highest notes that it's hearing as the main melody. So as soon as I got that main melody down, I play it in or click it in as MIDI to have it in front of me visually. It's a lot easier to come up with cool harmonies and movements like that rather than just trying to figure them out in your head. Here's another visualization technique that I came up with that really helps me generate more interesting layers. I see everything as lines in my head. So for me, that main melody looks like this. So what you have now is the chords, you have the notes of your melody, its rhythm and its movement. You also have the MIDI of your melody. So now we can start building our choir. I usually do 4 to 5 layers, including the melody, 3 takes per layer, 1 in the center, 1 pan hard left and 1 pan hard right. So I'll start by copying the MIDI of the melody to layer 2, and I'll just start moving notes around to chord tones, always trying to generate movement in opposite directions, which just means that if the melody goes up, I'll try and have the second layer go down and vice versa. I'll show you all of the layers that I came up with right now and try and explain a little better, switching to color for this one real quick. Alright, so here are all of the layers that I came up with. As you can see, the red one is the melody. Nothing goes higher than that, as I told you before. Then we have the green and the brown layer, which is almost always crossing and moving in different directions. The bottom layer right here is always used for the bass notes of the individual chords in my arrangements, just to tie the whole choir together. Something that used to happen to me a lot is that I would get discouraged by the way that my arrangement sounded on the piano, but I found out that that is due to the fact that the piano has no notes in between semitones, but the human voice can actually slide to different notes, which will make the movements that you generate, the movements that are crossing each other, movements in different directions, just much more audible and much more effective. So don't get discouraged by the way that your stuff sounds as MIDI. Try and sing it in and judge afterwards. Also, as you could probably hear, I didn't tune my vocals at all. There's a lot of inconsistencies in there, even some wrong notes. And I encourage you to do the same thing, because if you tune all of your stuff perfectly, it will just start to sound robotic and just unnatural. Maybe in some circumstances, that's what you're going for, but usually I like my stuff natural, so yeah, just try and go light on the editing. One last tip, if something is too high or too low for you to actually sing, try pitching the chords up or down and pitch your vocals up or down afterwards. Sometimes I even do that on purpose to make it sound like there's different people singing. So yeah, just something to try out. Alright, that's it for this one. I really hope that this was helpful. The stems of the whole sample are over on my Patreon. There's a new pack on there every Sunday full of sounds for you to use in your own music however you like. You can support what I do over there or right here by liking or subscribing. As always, really appreciate you taking your time watching this, and see you next Sunday. Love.